Hello ladies and welcome back to my channel. I'm David, you're David, we're all David, and welcome to Dismantling Hate, the series where we look at some hateful online rhetoric. And today we are going to look at the YouTube channel of Buck Angel, and the video that we're going to be reacting to is called Don't Let Bearded Men in Dresses Fool You, They're Not Trans. If you haven't heard of Buck Angel before, allow me to introduce you to this man. Buck Angel was born on June 5th, 1962, and is an American sex educator and a former pornographic film actor and producer. He founded the media production company Buck Angel Entertainment. A trans man, he currently works as an advocate and educator. Advocate, we'll use that loosely. Angel served on the board of directors of the Woodhull Freedom Foundation from 2010 to 2016, and the foundation works to affirm sexual freedom as a fundamental human right through advocacy and education. Buck Angel is a trans man, so it really surprised me that he was on YouTube being transphobic. If this is the first time you're seeing my beef jerky face, hi, my name is David. I'm so glad that you're here. If you love the sound of my voice, consider subscribing to the channel. Like the video if you like the video, and let me know what you think down there in the comments. I'd really love to know. Before we get started, I do want to say please do not go leave any hate comments on any of the creators that I feature in any of my videos. We may not have Michelle Obama's arms, but we do have her attitude, and when they go low, we go high. I do not want you to participate in this culture of hate that we are working so diligently to dismantle, not only on this channel, but around the world. So I'm going to slide on over and we're going to see why we shouldn't let bearded men in dresses fool you. And as somebody with a beard who can often be found wearing a dress on stage, I'm really interested in this, so let's get into it. Now, before we even get started, this creator right here on the screen is somebody that I've come across on TikTok quite frequently, and they are a trans woman, and she's sharing her experience. Now, from what I can gather from looking at her TikTok and Instagram and that, she is somebody who is very early on in her transition, so she doesn't visually look like a woman, but of course, we're gonna get into that in a little bit of why that's problematic. Visually looking like the gender that you identify as is definitely a privilege that some people don't think about, so because visually this person may look more masculine than feminine, I don't believe it's our place to look at this person and go, you're not trans enough. You have a beard, so you could never be a woman. Which doesn't make sense to me. It's problematic and discriminatory in itself. If this person is standing in front of us telling us they're a trans woman, it's not really our place to argue as long as they're not hurting anybody else with their identity. And of course, from what I've seen so far, this person isn't hurting anyone with their trans identity, so I have a problem with people going after this person because they don't look trans enough. Like, they're so early on in their transition, even if they are attempting to seek gender affirming care, which isn't something that you have to do as a trans person, but even if they are, they're still very early days. So at the end of the day, you're just attacking people's appearances, which I think is really gross. So let's get into it and see what Buck Angel has to say on the topic.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to hop on here and address some really ignorant comments that I'm seeing. There's people saying, oh, you're not a woman, oh, you're not trans.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do some reactions for you, just some TikTok reactions, but oh gosh, these people are so insane. Seriously. So these ones I'm going to react to because I find them to be, for myself, offensive. I do not believe these people are really, truly dysphoric. It's my opinion. It's what I believe. Being 32 years transition, I never saw people like this except in the cross-dressing world. I've never seen men looking like this who believe they are actually women presenting themselves like this to the world.
You've never seen them, so that means that they don't exist. I think that's a problem in itself, and it just, you don't own transness, and it's not really your place. And he did say that this was his opinion, so that's that caveat there, but, and like, it is walking the line of like freedom of speech, but that doesn't mean freedom of repercussions. So yeah, Buck Angel, you don't own transness, and looking at other people and visually assessing whether they look trans enough or feminine enough to fit under the trans umbrella, I think is problematic and is alienating people. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it perpetuates this idea that you need to look a certain way in order to identify a certain way, and that participates in the gender binary and all of these things that I'm sure we're going to get into.
I have a couple of those, and then I have one of a teacher just saying some insane stuff, and I'm just over it. That's it, really. So with that, thank you again for liking and subscribing and joining my channel and helping me to bring these to you. So, you know, I think laughing is good, whether or not some people think it is or not, that we're laughing at them. You know, when you put stuff on the internet like this, you better be prepared for people to do some backlash, especially when it comes to the transsexual community. Many of us are starting to get really fed up. In fact, not starting, we are fed up with this stuff. And so we have to start to call it out. And that's why I really think these reaction videos are on some level important, so that you out there who are not part of the transsexual community can see that, yes, your feelings towards these people are correct. They are doing something else. So with that, again, thanks for liking and subscribing and doing all those things to help this channel really grow. So I'm going to react to this first one here. This one I'm blown away by. I really am blown away by it. So let's just see if we can get this guy going here.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to hop on here and address.
He just said guy, which is transphobic. Like, it's wild. It's wild to me. And I have to say, when I first came across this creator on TikTok, I remember looking at them and thinking, is this satire? And I'm not going to really go into why I was speculating that this might have been satire, but ultimately I am of the opinion now that this is a legitimate trans woman that's not doing this in some like satirical way in order to get views. If that is the case, that's harmful, and I think they should be held accountable for that, because that's kind of weird and gross if you're lying in order to get likes and clicks. But I don't think that's what they're doing. So let's see.
Some really ignorant comments that I'm seeing. There's people saying, oh, you're not a woman, oh, you're not trans, oh, you're a guy, you're not a guy. Not everybody fits perfectly into tiny little boxes. I know society loves to oversimplify things, loves putting people in boxes with labels. We don't all fit. Some of us are on different parts of the spectrum, and that's okay.
Is that
yeah, before we even get into what Mr. Angel's going to say here is, yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Yeah.
Is that so, my friend? So, with that, do you think this person is making an effort to look like a woman? Do you really? Because I don't. This person in no way, shape, or form is making any effort for you as the person out there to see them as a woman.
But it implies that you have to look at somebody and make a judgment whether they look woman enough. So I don't really know what we're getting at here. Like, okay, if we're going to assign femininity to traits that we're able to recognize in other people, which is problematic in itself, because it's not my rightful place as an individual to look at another person and decide whether they look trans enough. But even, yes, like they're wearing lipstick, if we're going to assign gender to a lipstick, which I think is gross and problematic in its own right. I've said problematic a lot. What am I, just another woke lefty up here who's losing it? But like, their nails are painted, they're wearing the crop top, like the necklace, like there are things here. And also, like I said, it's very early days for this person too in their trans journey. So you're just roasting somebody who's not very far along. I'm sure one day, Mr. Angel, in the beginning of your transition, you didn't look as masculine as you look now. So yeah.
That's what a transsexual woman does.
No, a trans woman doesn't do anything other than identify as a trans woman. You can look any way you want as a trans woman. You can identify as whatever you want, as long as it is true for you and it is your authentic identity. If you're doing it in order to manipulate people and to get ahead in sports like that, so many of these right-wing people like to argue that trans women are getting into transness because they want to be in sports and be all the cis women, which I don't think is happening very frequently. I'm sure it's happened, and that's problematic in itself, but it just doesn't happen at the rate that these people think it does.
Example, Blair White. Okay, come on, we're going to use Blair White as an
Okay, so Blair White is the image of femininity, and Blair White is really hot. Okay, let me put a picture of Blair White. I reacted to her on my channel before. Not every trans woman needs to look like Blair White. Also, not every cis woman looks like this. So why is Blair White no, but of course he likes Blair White. Not all cis women look like Blair White. Why are you saying that's the image of femininity? It's just, that's stupid.
I have many other friends like Blair White, but Blair White is a great example. She would never go out of the house looking like this, and she deserves to be called she, because she makes...
No, that's so weird. Why do you need to deserve to be called your pronoun? What does that even mean? That's so gross.
I do not believe this person has gender dysphoria. There is no way they're presenting male. You think putting a little yellow tank tube top on with little boobies, I don't even think those are real. I think those are stuffed, or they're just your pecs, or they're just man boobs. So, this is the stuff we have to call out, and I'm going to call it out whether you like it or not. And no one thinks you're a woman, dude. No one thinks you're a woman.
Well, she thinks she's a woman. So I think that might be all that matters.
It's going to respect you as a woman, and you're not a woman, okay? You're a man.
It's wild to see a trans person out here telling somebody else about their gender. It just... Wow.
Thinks they're a woman, possibly, but I don't even think that. I do not think that you think that. I think that you are, on some level, doing this as pushback. I really think you are not trans. I really think you're doing it to show something, okay?
I think there is the possibility that it isn't genuine, but in the case that it is genuine, then you're being super harmful and kind of gross and bullyish out here of making this video and calling this person out. I honestly don't think that it's an act. I don't. I might be wrong, but ultimately it just sets up this harmful rhetoric when you're calling people out for not looking like their gender.
You see what's happening in this community and you are exposing it in a way. Now, I could be wrong, and maybe you really do think you're trans, but I have a hard time believing it, as do many other people, not only in the transsexual community, but outside in the world. So when you do stuff like this, no respect from the rest of the world.
Well, no. She has respect from me if it's authentic. And probably from you too. Would you respect this person if you saw them out in the world? Let me know in the comments. I hope it's yes. I hope it's yes. You should respect everybody to some base level.
Let's move on to this next one here that I have.
So I just got home from work, and today, for the first time, I dressed fully feminine in public.
I'm going to say right now that Mr. Angel's going to talk about this person's body hair and beard, and I'm going to roast that and say that hair is masculine. And a lot of women, a lot of cis women, a lot of trans women have hairy bodies. Hair is a normal part of the human experience. So shut up in advance, Mr. Angel, because I know it's coming.
The broad light of day. It was to a luncheon at my work with the board of directors.
A luncheon really made this man laugh. Interesting.
Of the theater company I work for. I wore my lemon dress and my keffiyeh.
It's honestly a cute look. Why is your mouth open like that?
And you know, it in the grand scheme of things might seem like a small victory, but you gotta let yourself celebrate your small victories. Because there's a lot of times when those big ones feel really few and far between. And right now, for me, every little victory I get is one more step that I have taken towards being fully myself.
You must have whiplash right now, because this man over here is being hateful to this person in a dress, and I'm like just having somewhat of an emotional reaction because I can really feel for this person. I've been in similar situations, so I understand, and I really have a lot of empathy. Buck, however, does not.
Not hiding who I am any longer, and that feels like something to celebrate to me.
Who are you? What are you trying to show the world when you show up with another one exactly like the first one? Hairy chest and body.
Do we not know any women that have hairy chests and hairy bodies? They're everywhere. Everybody has hair, mate. Like, it's not... I mean, some people don't have hair. Some men don't have hair. Some women don't have hair. Like, hair does not gender make. So I don't know what this guy's on.
Facial hair, full-on man in a dress. No way is anybody respecting you. Now, that being said...
That is so rank. I really can't stand this guy.
I think I repeat this constantly. I really don't have any issues with somebody cross-dressing. That is your own space. It is.
But it's also your judgment whether somebody is cross-dressing and somebody is trans, and you don't actually know, and you're just purporting what you think is fact, which is gross.
That it makes you feel happy about yourself. God bless you, my friend. But when you take that to the rest of the world and you force people to see you in your fetish, that is non-consensual, my friend.
Oh, God. No, it's not that. It's not that.
Asking other people don't want to participate in your little fetish. They don't.
What? That's so stupid. And like his head movement is really weirding me out here. It's not that. It's not that.
And they don't have to do that. They do not have to do that. Okay?
They have to respect you. What is this guy on?
That's a fetish. And shame on you for showing up into a company. I think you said you showed up to a company dinner or something.
You can say luncheon. You laughed pretty hard at the word luncheon, and you're telling me you don't remember it now? That's not a flattering freeze frame. It's misogynistic, because he's saying that all trans women, we don't even know if that creator identified as a trans woman. They could have been a non-binary person like me. I feel like Buck probably doesn't like non-binary people, but why can't you do that? Gross.
That. And you're so proud of yourself. What about everybody else? who's uncomfortable with you.
They need to be the ones who work on themselves, because why would you be uncomfortable? Even at the end of the day, if it was a male identifying person in a dress, what does that actually do to you? You should be the one that looks at your internalized misogyny, not like the discriminatory ideology should be addressed here, not the people who are just dressing the way that they want to. That's, yeah.
Who doesn't feel okay with that. Okay, really? Are you kidding me? You're not
like, how do we not see the parallels of like racism, right? If I were to say like, I'm really uncomfortable with anybody who doesn't have white skin, so they need to like change their skin or not show up or do things differently. How do we not see the parallels here? And of course, you do make the choice to put on a dress. You don't make the choice to put more melanin in your skin to have darker skin. But ultimately, I think your gender identity is something that just is, and it's not necessarily something you choose. It's not necessarily something that you choose. You can choose to express it, but deep down, I don't think you choose it. I think you are who you are.
Any effort to be a woman in any way, shape, or form. Again, calling you out. You're not. You're a crossdresser. It's a fetish, and you're not trans. There. I said it. So this last one, I'm so tired of these teachers. These are teachers.
Okay, I'm going to take a deep breath because I am an educator and I have almost 7 years of post-secondary education. And one of those years is at a master's level where I have a specialization in neuroscience. So I'm not coming at this from nowhere. If you're interested to hear my education stuff, you can click on my other videos that have to do with teachers. I have a handful of podcast episodes about teaching. Go find that if you're interested in that from me. But let's finish this up.
Little teeny children throwing their ideology into the mix.
My name's Teacher Green, and something I like about my classroom is that my students built the trans flag last year. We have the pleasure of reading a book called Melissa about a transgender.
Why is a trans man shocked at that?
Girl. And
trans characters can be in books just like cis characters can be in books. This guy makes no sense to me.
Was very impactful for all of us. Afterwards, we built the trans flag using the shapes of our hands, blue, pink, and white paint, and of course glue.
4th grade. 4.
That's the grade that I taught. I taught grade 4 for 3 years.
A book about a 4th grade trans. What? Why? Why? Just why? This is why people don't.
The problem here is that he views transness as the problem here is that he views being trans exclusively as seeking gender affirming care. So when he thinks about a grade 4 trans kid, he's thinking somebody that has sought out gender affirming care and had surgery and had bottom surgery and it's no. You can be trans without seeking gender affirming care, like the two creators that we looked at before this. So he's kind of setting himself up. He's basically fighting himself in this moment, saying that how are you doing this to kids in grade 4 when ultimately it could just be somebody using different pronouns in grade 4, and it doesn't go beyond that. But it does go beyond that and become this big huge ordeal if the adults in the space are like up in arms and upset and all these things. Like, it literally doesn't need to be that deep, but he views being trans as looking trans and looking as the gender you identify as, which I don't think being trans is only looking like your gender. I think being trans is something that is inside, and if you're a trans person, you don't need to look any way in order to pass in front of people like this who have a weird idea of what being trans is, even though he is a trans man. It's just, but hate can come from anywhere. The hate in this case is coming from inside the house.
I am a transsexual. I'm telling you, no. No, that's full-on indoctrination.
Yeah, keep shaking your head no, and maybe it'll make more sense.
We made the trans flag. Trans. Of course kids want to be trans. I keep saying it. Of course they want to be trans. You're getting all kinds of accolades from the teacher to people on the internet.
Again, it's just another person who doesn't understand what happens in a classroom. Like, there were trans representation of like adults that would come in and like give presentations, not about being trans, but just about other things that were related to curriculum. And like, trans people exist out in the world in the same way that cis people exist out in the world. So why shouldn't trans people be represented in storytelling in the same way that cis people are? And if yeah, like everybody should be celebrated. It's not like we're saying, cisgender, gross. Trans people? Ooh, that's awesome. You should all be trans. That's just not what happens in schools.
Cool if you're trans. Like, it's so sick. It's actually sick. That's pure indoctrination. That should never be allowed in the school system. Those books should not be allowed. You can read those books to your kids if you want at home in your private life and all that. None of those books should be allowed in the school system. Okay? Kids are not LGBTQIA PP poo poo. They're not. They're kids.
So he's a female to male trans person, which means he grew up a little girl. So is he saying that he wasn't trans when he was a kid? wouldn't he have benefited from knowing that being trans is a valid experience? It doesn't mean that you need to have bottom surgery by the time PE rolls around at the end of the day. You just need to know that it exists and it's fine and it's whatever. It's out there. Like, we don't need to do anything about it right now, but at some point it is something that you're going to have to deal with. So why wouldn't you arm people with the knowledge of everything that exists out in the world so they can have the smoothest experience possible?
Leave it out of the school system. Please, I'm begging you. You are destroying what we have built as an adult. You are destroying it.
No, you're
and
not.
It's coming for us next. Thanks, everybody. I sure wish I could have been a bit more happy and laughing, but I can't help myself. It just starts to parlay until I...
Yeah, okay, I've had enough of that. Big yikes. Well, babies, that brings us to the end of this episode here of Dismantling Hate on my YouTube channel. If you love the sound of my voice, consider subscribing. If you like the video, and let me know what you think down there in the comments. Ultimately, I think this man doesn't have any experience at school, so everything he says around teachers and schooling and how that works in child development and neuroscience and all of that, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. I'm sorry. You don't have that education. And I'm not ragging on him for participating in sex work. I think that's completely valid and fine and fair. But at the end of the day, you don't have the experience to speak in this absolutist language that you are. Being a trans person doesn't exclude you from being transphobic, because I think we've definitely seen that here. And pushing your idea of what a woman is and what a man is on other people, I think is weird and doesn't make sense to me and is highly misogynistic and harmful. So if you're interested in more from me, check out my podcast on YouTube and Spotify called D-Talk with David Day. Become a certified amateur sleuth. Click on my link tree and follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. I see you. You look great today. I love you, babes. And until the next one, goodbye.